They're right over here. Some nice fresh water from Santa Ana, from our public works agencies here as well. And then we have Spanish and Vietnamese translation, which you would have found out when you came in the front door. So I hope everyone has what they need to be able to participate. So with that, we'll start in. And my name is Melanie Chan. I'm with the city's planning division. I'm a principal planner that helps with advanced planning projects like the general plan update and these environmental justice efforts. So first, I'd like to introduce our planning manager. And here she comes now. So Fabiola will give it away to the group we're just starting in. This is Fabiola, our new planning manager, who's helping to oversee this project as well. And then I'd like to take a moment to introduce our general plan team. So these are folks who have helped pull this together and serve the community. Ricardo Soto, if you could wave your hand, he helps reach you. Ricardo is our senior planner. Jerry Guevara, our associate planner. Of course, many of you know Margarita Macedonia, also on our general plan team. Alyssa Ventura. Oh, there she is right there, thank you. And also Daniel Soto is here today to help us with some of the logistics. And we'll be introducing our partners shortly as well. So, if we could go to the next slide in the PowerPoint. So, we figured we'd give a little time for refreshments and settling in, and now we'd like to go over a little bit on the outreach that we did this past year related to environmental justice in the general plan, and reminding ourselves what this general plan update effort is all about. So, and then after that, we'll have a panel discussion, representatives from Orange County Environmental Justice, Orange County Water Department, and then also Madison Park Green will be a part of that panel discussion. And then if you got a ticket on the way in, you'll be opportunity to get a drawing for a $50 gift card. And then we invite you to go back to the information booth to find out more information. So we'll go through one more slide. And just to make mention as well, this PowerPoint right now has been loaded to our website in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese to help with the communication. So again, the basics. The real reason why we're here today, what started this conversation in some ways, was our general plan update. So the general plan for all cities is the opportunity to pull the community together and identify what are the goals, policies, and actions that we need to put in place to have the community that we want Santa Ana to be in the future. Our horizon that we're looking at for this effort is all the way to 2045. So we're trying to see past now, what are our future needs, what do we need to work on, and we really appreciate everyone that's been a part of this effort. The colorful little pictures you see at the bottom are the 11 topics that are covered in this effort, and the 5 words at the bottom are the 5 values that surfaced with the community input over the last few years. So they are culture, sustainability, health, education, and equity. So this document is intended to be grounded in those guiding values. And again, the purpose of it is to help have a quality, sustainable community for ourselves and those that come after us. With that, I'd like to reintroduce Ricardo Soto, who will walk us through some of the slides on the survey results, and I'll hand it over to Ricardo. Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning. I'm going to be going over some background related to EJ, and also, like Melanie mentioned, the EJ survey summary that we had this spring. So first, to get into plan Planning for Healthy Communities Act, which took effect at the state level in 2015. That required all cities such as Santa Ana to incorporate EJ as part of any general plan update that involved updating one or two elements. Santa Ana is going under a comprehensive update, so that required us to incorporate EJ as part of a separate element, or to include it as part of all the elements in the general plan. So the whole goal of SC 1000, as is known, is to reduce unique or compounded health risks, promote civil engagement and public decision-making, and to prioritize improvements in programs in those EJ areas. Next slide. So what's the EJ community? EJ communities are areas in the state that have higher risk of exposure to pollution in air and water and soil. Residents are usually burdened by socioeconomic and health issues, and they typically tend to be located near freeways, major roads, or industrial uses. So to measure what those EJ areas are, or what indicators we're going to look at to identify those census tracts, the state has 20 current indicators, and the latest draft has an added indicator, which is lead risk. So that's why we show the 21. It's all to the point that the 21st indicator, lead risk, is going to be adopted. So that's also going to be looked at as part of what's considered an EJ area. And those 21 indicators are broken up into two different bundles, if you will. The first are pollution burden, and the second are population characteristics. So for pollution burden, we look at environmental effects such as ozone, lead risk, pesticide use, things like that are present in the environment. And then for the population characteristics, we'd be looking at things that the population in these areas tend to suffer from, such as asthma, low birth weight, poverty, lower education attainment levels, things like that. So each of those indicators are analyzed and reviewed based on different methodologies, data points, and models, and they're given scores. Those scores are then added together to give each census tract a total score. So those total scores that each census tract receives are then compared against other census tracts in the state. And based on the top 25% scores, those areas are considered EJ census tracts. So if you look at Santa Ana there, you can see the outline in black, and the smaller kind of fragmented areas like the different census tracts, and they're color-coded, so you can see which of those census tracts within the city make up that top 25 percentile. So the darker red would be the ones, or darker orange would be the ones that are considered EJ census tracts within the city.
Point out where the city of Santa Ana is?
Sure, it's kind of tough to see because it's small, but we can actually jump on there. So it's here. So in Santa Ana, there's 23 census tracts that fall into that top 25 percentile and that are considered EJ neighborhoods or EJ census tracts. So as part of SC 1000, the requirement is to engage these areas that in the past have not been as engaged or haven't been given a seat at the table when it comes to decision making and planning processes. So this spring, we went and had 10 virtual community meetings, which I think some of you guys have attended, and the focus was really to get feedback from the folks that reside in these 23 census tracts and see what types of goals, policies, actions we can incorporate into the general plan to help with quality of life issues. In total, in the virtual meeting, we had 236 participants, and also as part of that effort, we had a online survey that's available in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And part of, Daniel, next slide. So part of the survey results, as well as the feedback we received during the community workshops, the themes of the feedback we received tend to fall into those 6 different categories: air and water pollution, improving public facilities, how can we improve infrastructure in these areas, how can we get our kids and the population that reside in these areas more physically active, also having better access and opportunities to healthy food, and how do we continue to engage our populations to make them more involved in the decision-making process and giving them a voice at the table. So as part of that online survey, as part of the online survey, we received 746 completed surveys, and we have the results of the survey here today at the table where you see the sign over there where Jerry is sitting. So if you want to see the results of the survey, you can go there and we have a handout that has the results, and then we also have a summary that encapsulates the feedback we received during the workshop as well as the survey. And then to try to help people or get them to participate, we offered 8 $100 gift cards. So we think that tends to help turn people out to participate. So we felt like we had a pretty good turnout for the surveys. The feedback we received as part of the workshop and survey, which is the key part, we then took that information and then folded it into the latest draft of the general plan policies and actions. So if you take a look at the plan on our website, you'll see that we've included a document that shows the track changes of how we took that feedback and incorporated and changed the draft that we currently have out there. So just to highlight a little bit of the survey results, 53% of the respondents of the survey said that they were exposed to excessive pollution from vehicles, cars, and trucks. While we do have a shortage of open space, and a lot of community members have let us know that, 74% of the respondents said that they do have access to a nearby park. 42% of the respondents said that they live, work, or recreate near sites that were previously polluted by industrial uses. So those are some of the issues that would be addressed under the environmental justice umbrella. How do we make those areas safer for the families that reside there? Another item from the survey, we had 5 different actions that look to actually make the goals and the policies effective. How do we go from something that's visionary, something that's just a hypothetical, to something that's reality on the ground? So in the plan, what takes that form are the actual actions of each element. So we provided 5 draft actions, and we asked community members which of those 5 were the most important to them. And they responded that their first choice was having public parks, open space, and community centers. And it falls in sequential order, second, third, fourth choices as being the most important to them. So in the plan draft that we have, like Melanie mentioned, that's kind of the cause of us being here and sharing information, or the root cause, I should say. We have outlined all the goals, policies, and actions in the plan, and identified which of the core values that Melanie spoke to are going to be related to the policies and actions. And then also there's a symbol identifying which of those policies or actions are specifically addressing the topic of environmental justice. So on the right, you can see a little symbol that has like a green corner that says EJ. Those would be the ones that are specific to EJ. So to further get into how the plan is organized, we have each of the elements have a section that explores the actions, which I covered. And again, those are identifying which of those actions specifically speak to the topic of EJ. And each of the elements has a separate section broken out, speaking to those actions, what lead agency would be responsible for implementing that action, and also when the city anticipates those actions to be completed by. With that, hand it over to Melanie.
Thanks, Ricardo.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. So Ricardo in his presentation mentioned an infographic or a summary, and so I just want to encourage you to go to the group that has a poster of Gold City on, if you're interested, and get more information on some of the summaries of the survey. So what we're going to go through now in about 12 slides are examples of the actions that are in the general plan that are developed through best practices, community input, and in particular, some revisions based on some of our partners we have here today at Food. So we, again, want to just really celebrate that collaboration and where we are today. While we get that sorted out. So here we go. So the first one that addresses air quality and water hazards. In our land use element, you can find it, and it's about standards, and it's updating our city zoning code to evaluate having specific distance buffers between sensitive uses like residential, schools, etc., and industrial polluting uses. So that is simple, but that has been a dialogue to get us to that point, and having that in our general plan that City Council will review and commit to as an action. And so we are in the process of queuing up to update our zoning code over the next year, and this would be one of the things included. Next slide. The next topic is community conversation. This is in our community element. That's a new element for the city. And this effort would be to conduct every 3 years a survey with the community on community health, air quality concerns, parks and community service needs. And while we've been doing a lot of surveys last year, this would be mindfully doing that with the community every 3 years and seeing where we're at and maybe what we need to improve. And again, with special outreach to the environmental justice or disadvantaged communities that we want to draw special efforts with. Next. The other category under air quality and water is proactive engagement. So as we mentioned, we've been collaborating, but we want to continue that strong collaboration with stakeholders in the environmental justice areas, in particular to outline things that we can do to monitor the air quality, monitor the pollution, and this is in advance of maybe trying to get another grant through the H1B or the Air Resources Board, but to proactively now can have more conversations to identify what we can do in the short term. And that's in our conservation element. Next. Oh, did I go back? Yeah, thank you. Go forward, please. So the next category is lead contamination action. So for those that may not know, we've had a couple of roundtables with the general plan, and the roundtables have been what we gather together groups with similar passion, similar interests. And we had a lead roundtable, and through that, a couple of these actions have been refined in our general plan. This one stops in terms of focusing on lead paint fixing. So the city, when it has new projects, development projects come in, there's an application that the developer needs to fill out. And this action says that we will update our application to more specifically require the developers to provide information so that we can better identify any site contamination and hazardous materials that might need to be remediated. And that would be in our land use element. Okay. Thanks. The next one is the concept of promoting health. So the Orange County Healthcare Agency and other local organizations like Orange County Environmental Justice and UCI, we're talking about working together to look at ways to increase blood lead testing for the community and youth, promote even more educational awareness, and further soil remediation, which you know would be a good thing for our community. And that's what's in our land use development draft. So, going a little bit bigger picture, this action is related to environmental health, you might say, and it talks in terms of having a health measure. So what is that? That would be something that we have specific categories that we would monitor, health indicators, to measure the success of having a healthier environment and having our general plan be successful. So these could be things as asthma rate, blood level rate, low childbirth rate, but we would be mindfully creating a health metric that would then be a scorecard for us. Keep saying how we're being successful, if these actions are being successful to better our health metrics. Next slide. The next category is housing and displacement action. So again, we had a roundtable that met a couple times that was focused on and displacement measures. And one of the things that we have in the general plan is related to tenant protection. And that is to provide more information to the resident tenants regarding what's already in place at the state level, state laws, that right now protect them against eviction. And this is with the lens of folks that are trying to improve their housing conditions and maybe request certain things be done, and they are concerned that if they do so, that their landlord will somehow get them out of their house. So again, this is education so that everyone knows what's available now in the tools to protect, to pursue improvements to your housing without the fear of eviction. Next slide. Another anti-displacement strategy will continue is collaborating with community organizations ongoing to continue to identify, evaluate, and look for more anti-displacement measures. And this is so that we make sure that we're being mindful of any kind of displacement of vulnerable tenants caused by new development. And that's in our land use development. Next slide. And last but not least, one of the programs that's going on now that will continue is local preference. So the good news is that Santa Ana has been able to require local preference for residents and workers in Santa Ana. So when we have new affordability projects, we have a really high success rate in residents, workers from Santa Ana being included in these new housing development projects, and that's something we want to continue. So that those are in the area that might be displaced or relocated, they have the first preference opportunity to take the benefit of this new affordable housing. So there's a few more slides. This one has to do with community engagement. So part of environmental justice and just good planning and good communication is to work together. And this one is an interagency team. So this involves pulling different city agencies, for starters, to have an environmental quality team. And the idea is that they would work together to make recommendations and coordinate on the different health issues. And importantly as well, that the image you see to the right, which we've already begun, is we have an information portal on the website to share information on a variety of environmental topics. So right now we have contacts for HMV, we have contacts for the Orange County Water District, and we want to grow with all of our partners to be able to provide information on their good work and information, everything from, pollution from fireworks to air quality, water quality, et cetera. Next slide. Another action that was promoted in the last few months and that's in the draft general plan is to engage our EJ communities. And to hold us all accountable and working together would be to hold biannual or quarterly roundtable meetings with stakeholders to continue to help guide and evaluate our environmental justice policy. So, in simple terms, we'd be meeting, committing to meeting, so that we could be looking at what we thought was going to help us, measuring did it help us, and then continuing that conversation to help guide future actions related to environmental justice and the general plan vision. Next slide. So as Ricardo mentioned, in the survey, when asked, what were your top 3 things that you would like to see change for a better quality of life? The one that scored the highest was open space and recreation and community facilities. So this action speaks to public parkland, and this action is to update the city's ordinance to require for larger development projects that new public land be developed within a 10-minute walking distance, and then as part of this effort to consider incentives to help a couple of developers that might be developing in the same area pull together, so that what they all provide can get into the end a larger park opportunity. So that is in an effort to help address the park issue. You could go to the next. Sorry about the mismatch here. So the other category that came up, so over the last few months, there's an effort to say, what else can we do to help bolster our parks and open space? And one of the suggestions that came up as an example is a park foundation. So it's the idea of creating a nonprofit 501c3 organization that could be established to do fundraising to help augment the other funding sources that we have, and then to use maybe as grant matching for to match grants that we apply for. But the idea is that we're looking for what are the ways that we can help better the situation, and this was offered as one suggestion, because obviously funding is always key. Next slide. Well, there you have it. Not sure what the technical difficulties are here, but the one that's getting the front and center play here is our Orange County Healthcare Agency. That's from their logo. So this is where we segue to our partners. And I want to pause again to thank and to celebrate the relationships that we've been able to build. We're hopeful for continued conversation with these partners and champions. And the Orange County Healthcare Agency is one. Madison Park, Orange County Environmental Justice, UCI Health Division, and Orange County Water District. So with this, we're going to segue into our talking about our partners. Let's try the next slide. Very good. Okay. So the next few slides were provided from our partners, and I'm just going to touch on them because in just a few minutes when we have our panel, they're going to answer for themselves questions about their organization's mission and involvement in this effort, in the environmental justice effort. But this is a visual of Orange County Environmental Justice, and it just speaks to the collaboration. They've been working with us, but they're part of a lot of other collaborations. And this one had to do with some studies and efforts to identify lead contamination in sand and soil. So if we go to the next slide. So it's the areas that are darker in red are the areas that are higher hazard areas, and those are the areas that we want to affect positive change. Next slide. So there we have Orange County Healthcare Agency. They're not able to be here with us today because their protocol is still that they don't have in-person meetings. But we want to give a shout out to Jennifer Forster, who's been really, really helpful with our team. And their focus is, for the most part, is to be preventative in nature. But that lower paragraph is that their mission is to continue to collaborate with the Soils Roundtable that I mentioned earlier, to partner with the lead poisoning prevention program that provides funding for more good work, City of Santa Ana, UCI, and Orange County Healthcare, and Orange County Environmental Justice. So thank you to healthcare agency for their partnership. Next slide. So another shout out, one of our panelists will be from Madison Park Neighborhood Association, who most of you know has been a leader in promoting positive change for air quality for their area. And they have a program that they'll speak to a little bit later. But in essence, some of their goals are to increase community capacity, launch air quality monitoring studies, and advocate for environmental justice in a number of areas. Next slide. And we'll touch on that a little bit further when they describe their mission and some of the outcomes of their recent projects. Next slide. So, I'm not sure why this thing is functional, but we'll go through these quickly. Orange County Water District, the area that you see highlighted in yellow is the area with the shallow groundwater contamination. And that's an area that there have been a number of areas that need remediation. If we go to the next slide, see if that one works better. The areas that are highlighted in hatch are the contaminated sites, and Orange County Water District, along with state-level organizations, is working to clean these up, monitor them, and make our community healthy again, hopefully. Next slide. So these are the 4 questions. So I'm going to pause for a moment to just kind of breathe a little bit. I would like to see, before we jump into our panelists, I'd like to see with a raised hand, how many folks have already been to the general plan forum of any kind? So I don't see that many hands. So it's a workshop, it's a survey. Okay. So as you see, there's always opportunity to include more people in the conversation. And then who in this room would say that they are part of the environmental justice movement, if you will? A few more hands on that. So again, thank you all for being here, and appreciate your participation today. So next, we will be introducing our panelists, and I'll have Margaret and Stone that there's each of the panelists will come up here, just like on the movie channel, and we'll be asking you 4 questions for you to share. So we have today with us Brendan Neal, who's walking up to the stage right now. He's a hydrogeologist for the Orange County Water District, and again, invite you to find more information at the booth. We have Patricia Lawrence from Orange County Environmental Justice. Thanks for being here. And then Jose Reyes, who's as you know, a strong leader in Madison Park Neighborhood Association and your green program. Again, I'll give a shout out to Jennifer Forrester, who's not with us today, but she's from the Orange County Healthcare Agency. With that, I'll hand it over to Marguerite. We have 2 mics.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay, just use 1 mic. Okay, so, that was a major sound check. That was a major sound check. Go ahead, Daniel. Let's disconnect the other one. Testing 1, 2.
Porque están dormidos.
¿Se despertaron? ¿Se despertaron? Sí. Okay. Testing 1, 2. Yeah. It's green, but All right. All right, we're almost there.
When in doubt, use a hammer.
Microphone off.
While they're getting the sound cleared out, I also wanted to remind folks that as a separate effort, we have our housing element that's being updated, and to work hard over to that table where it's standing, and take a survey on what you'd like to see housing in the future. And there's an opportunity for a $50 gift card. So again, incentives. So if you'd like to take any of the material, share it with your friends, just let the community know what your housing needs are and what you'd like to see in the future.
So how about that icebreaker, right? Icebreaker for our ears. Okay, so everyone, thank you for being here. This is important. We're very grateful, like Melanie was saying, about the partnership and including the groups that are doing amazing, important environmental justice work. And not just the representatives here, but we have neighborhood leaders here that decades, right? Decades have been fighting the fight to bring environmental justice issues to the forefront. So we have the honor of having our panelists here, and so they're going to share from their perspective for all of us to learn more about what they're doing and who they are. So let's start with OC Environmental Justice. If you can speak to us about the mission of your organization as a start.
Sure. So hi everyone. My name is Patricia, the Director of Orange County Environmental Justice. Our mission, quite simply, is to fight for environmental justice across Orange County through accountability, advocacy, community organizing, and grassroots solutions. And what that means is that we look at the specific ways that the environment and climate health issues specifically affect low-income communities of color. Because there's a difference in the ways that our communities are affected, right? Especially if you're living in an area that's been impacted by all these issues through industry, through air pollution. And so we want to make sure that specifically our communities have a voice in this struggle. Thank you.
Go ahead, MCNA. And just remember, we're interpreting, so just, poquito despacio.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Jose Rea, and I'm here representing Madison Park Neighborhood Association. We are one of 60-plus neighborhood associations within the city of San Ana. We are on the southeast side of the city, and the mission of our organization is basically through civic engagement and community participation, we seek to empower our community. We are basically a group of residents, neighbors, taking care of each other because we felt that we needed to step up to the plate because nobody else was coming to take care of us. And so we are just a group of neighbors, and I just want to take this opportunity to present some of our folks that are here. We have very good, strong representation all across. And let me just, in no particular order, I just wanted to introduce Mr. Adolfo Sierra, who is our neighborhood president. We also have a group of residents, through the Public Management District, the participation. We got a grant and we formed a resident committee. So we have Cecilia Bautista, Anthony Diaz, Juan Munoz, and Rodrigo Rea on the back. They're part of a committee that is called Comunidad Unida Aire Limpio, and they are just our residents doing citizen science to find out what is it that we breathe and how is this affecting our jobs. We also have a lot of collaborations, including OCEJ, Patricia Flores, but also the University of California Airline. And we have here with us one of our guides and advisors at the June Wood, at the Wood. Wait, please. And then we also have two grad students with us that have been extremely helpful in supporting our work. Connie Valencia and Ian Moran. Again, the purpose of our organization is through civic engagement, community participation, empower our community to take care of our health and our needs. That's Madison Park Medical Association.
So our mission at the Orange County Water District is to provide a reliable and high-quality source of water that is both cost-effective and environmentally sound. What that means really is that we protect and manage the groundwater basin, the Orange County groundwater basin, which is a system of aquifers beneath our very feet that provides about 75% of the potable water supply in north and central Orange County. We do that with several programs. One of those programs is the Talbert Injection Barrier, which is a curtain of injection wells in Huntington Beach that protects against seawater from intruding into the groundwater basin and damaging the potable supply of water with high fluoride concentrations. Another program is the groundwater replenishment system, which takes wastewater treatment to greater than drinking water standards, about 100 million gallons a day. That water is then placed in recharge basins to replenish the aquifer up in Anaheim. And in the case of Santa Ana, that water is actually injected directly into the aquifer at Centennial Park to replenish the water supply. Another program is the South Basin Groundwater Protection Project, which I'll talk about a little bit more later, and get some information on our booth, and also the North Basin Groundwater Protection Project, which is a similar project in Anaheim, Florida.
All right, thank you very much. So before we go into the highlights, just give them an applause. They're all really we're going to go into some of the more details that I think some of the groups are already shared it, but this is an opportunity to delve into what the current work or kind of work their organization has done to support and push forward environmental justice. Let's start with that.
Thank you, Margarita. So what we've done so far, so our organization developed a nonprofit, the MPNA, developed the MPNA Green programs 10 years ago as part of the Sanana Bill with Healthy Communities. And we built our programs on three pillars: youth education, family health and wellness, and the safe and clean environment. And up until 2017, by safe and clean environment, we meant safety at Madison Park, the creation of the Pacific Connected Park in collaboration with the other neighborhoods, Wilshire Square, East Side, now Pacific Park, and Henninger Park, where basically the need of more open space. And then also the use of the bike trail. We cleaned the bike trail for 20 years. It looks fantastic right now. We work with the city. We have new trees, lights, the exercise park, a new park, and all of that. And then also, our main concern, and continues to be, is the safety of Madison Park. We are lucky in the sense that we do have a bike trail, and we also have a park. In 2017, clean and safe environment changed completely, in the sense that we discovered that there was a metal plating company that was coming very close to the residential area, but also Madison Elementary and Kennedy Elementary, less than 1,000 feet from the schools. And to our surprise, they basically informed the community that they were coming in and they had applied for a permit. There was a notice from the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and giving the community 20 days to respond in writing. And all the notices were in English. In our community, at least most of the adults speak Spanish. And so we tried to find out, we called HMD, we never got a response, we never connected to anybody, but they wanted it in writing. Obviously, the person that brought this to the attention of Madison Park, it's actually Cecilia Bautista, who is only a few yards away from this company. It's actually the only thing that divides her apartment complex from the company is the railroad tracks. And to our surprise, we gave to the city, now Mayor Sarmiento sent a letter saying, hey, what can we do? And basically, HMD responded and sent us that map over there, the huge map that I have over there. And to our surprise was not only Brass Tech, but it's actually 42 companies that require special permits from HMD to release pollutants into the air. And so it wasn't one company, it wasn't Brass Tech, but 42 in total, and it's a cluster. So it's industrial corridor, and the map just shows on the first T on the South Dyer, but it's also between Standard and Grant. But there's more clusters, north of us, south of us, west of us. So we wondered, okay, what is the cumulative effect of these 42 companies releasing all the pollutants in a summer day, when the kids at Kennedy, Madison, Century, Villa, Walker, Roswell, all the schools are breathing the stuff, right? So what is the effect of that? What happens if the kids have asthma? So we want to know what exactly that we're doing and what is the city can do to stop this type of companies to coming into the neighborhood and so close to the schools. So how do we get engaged? And so we formed this committee and they've been working on it. And so, in working with the experts at UCI and with organizations like us, like OCEJ, to just kind of like, okay, pay more attention to what's going on with our health. Because I want to know if this stuff that I'm breathing, look, I wasn't living in the neighborhood for 20 years. If the stuff that I'm breathing every day, I didn't know this was a couple of blocks away from me. Is this thing going to reduce my lifespan from 75 to 68? Is going to prevent me to get to 83, which I hope I can get to. How is this thing impacting us? And so that's basically how we got involved. Did I answer the
Yeah.
So that's basically what, I want to frame, that's the work that we've been doing.
Let's hear from the lead contamination effort.
Thank you. And I think that's really important information. This makes a perspective for me because my mom used to walk through the Dyer area when she was pregnant with me, and she says that me and my brother have asthma. And so thank you for that. I appreciate that. For OCEJ's part, do you want me to go back to the slides with our map? You can go back to the bright pink slide. One more? There we go. Okay, so OCEJ confronts a lot of different environmental justice issues in Orange County. We have campaigns that address water pollution, climate change, and the defense of indigenous sacred sites throughout Orange County. But one of the major projects that we've taken on that gained a lot of momentum in the recent years has been our soil lead campaign, Plomo Santana, which, if you know in Spanish, plomo means lead, and so Plomo Santana is like we're saying no to lead in Santana, right? And this is a collaboration that we established with a youth group called Jóvenes Cultivando Cambio, Youth Cultivating Change, and with the UCI School of Public Health professors like Dr. Jun Wu, Alana Lebron, Juan Manuel Rubio, Shakir Masri, and a few others, right? And basically, we took soil samples across the city of Santana, about 1,555 samples, I believe, to be able to see how this issue of lead in soil, how prevalent that is in our city and how it's affecting our families, right? And so we created this heat map based off of those results. which really demonstrates the issue here. So according to the California EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, 80 parts per million of lead in soil is where it begins to affect the IQ of children, the mental health of children, right? And so in many neighborhoods of Santana, especially in the central and downtown area, we have neighborhoods where it's upward of 2,000 to 4,000 parts per million according to different readings, right? And so that's a drastic departure from that threshold for safety for children, right? That means that this is it's more than 50 times higher, that California EPA threshold, and it's going to be taking an effect on our youth, and it already is, right? And not to mention long-term health impact for all of our residents. And so we knew that this is something that we had to take action upon, right? And so we started disseminating those results, of course, to be able to talk to residents who live in these areas that are being impacted by lead and soil. But if you go to the next slide, we also started analyzing like the risk associated with these things. So this map shows the cumulative risk factor, not including cancer, and we found that in these issues of Santana, both if we take like a lower estimate and an upper estimate, because different agencies have different standards for how lead affects people. In both of those cases, lead was the biggest driving factor in non-cancer risk. And so that means effects on mental health, neurological health, lead and soil can affect like the health of kidneys. And more than anything, once again, this affects youth. And those are long-term effects on youth, on their IQs, on their ability to perform in school. And so this is something that is a crisis at this point because we're fairly certain this isn't just from lead and paint, this is from lead and gasoline and lead from industrial uses that's accumulated over time and continues to get kicked up in the air and moved around to different soil. And so that means that this is a crisis that has been decades in the making. This is something that's already been affecting our families for a long time, and so it's about time that we do something about it together. So that's why we're happy to be here with you all.
The topic I wish to highlight is the South Asian Groundwater Protection Program, which for the Orange County Water District has actually brought a lawsuit against the responsible parties. There are over 20 responsible parties that have contaminated the shallow groundwater system, the shallow aquifer in the industrial corridor. Many of whom did not claim responsibility or not step forward to clean up the contamination. So the Orange County Water District has brought about a suit to recover the cost of the work that you've already done, and also to force the responsible parties to further cleanup efforts and see them through to completion. This is important for EJ community because if we were not to bring forth this suit and seek tens of millions of dollars that would cost to clean up the site, that would be a cost that we passed on to the community. So ratepayers that are basically anybody paying rates for water will be forced to pay for that cleanup rather than the responsible parties.
So by a show of hands, how many of any of this information is new to you regarding the groundwater contamination, the lawsuits, OCEJ's efforts on lead contamination and pushing the forefront, and how the Madison Park and the 40 permitted businesses along that corridor that we're talking about? So the maps have been raised, and this is really, really important because their perspective, in terms of from pushing the envelope and just, raising these concerns at a grassroots level is really important, and that's why we're partnering with them, and we have for a while. And so we really hope that you stop by your booth to get more of that detail so that you can be connected, you can let the neighbors know, and this builds a greater awareness together about this. We're going to move on to the third question. We just appreciate each of their insights. It's so helpful. But we want to learn more about policy and your input, your recommendations, and how they're being considered or how you would like them to shape our general plan update. Let's start with groundwater, OC water.
Thank you. Well, we do provide comments for the environmental impact plan, and the largest effect that we have on policy, I say, would be the BPP, which is the basin pumping percentage, which is the amount of water we establish that each groundwater producer can produce from the basin each year. And that changes every year based on the availability of imported water and based on the condition of our groundwater basin. So that number changes every year, and of course, like I mentioned before, the cost of the water, the cost to replenish the water is a major factor that affects the BPP as well.
And so we've been really happy that we've been able to come to the table with the city and the Orange County Healthcare Agency to work on policies in the general plan to address soil lead, because once again, this is something that we need to take action on sooner than later. We're really happy to see that some of our recommendations that we made together are on there in terms of what Melanie presented in terms of working together to increase awareness of this issue, but also increase access to blood lead testing. So, in the state of California, they did an audit of the California State Medi-Cal program, and they found that of the youth that are enrolled in Medi-Cal, the majority, I think around 75%, are not receiving complete blood lead testing by the required age in California. And so even though we know that this is a crisis of soil lead contamination, we don't have accurate numbers to see how youth are being affected, right, and being exposed to lead. And so we think that that is a really key necessity that we talked with the city about, is being able to create more access to blood lead testing, especially for people who don't have insurance, right? As well as making sure that residents are aware of all the steps they need to take to get soil lead remediated on their property, right? But going beyond it, we want to continue to work with the city and the Orange County Healthcare Agency to create other solutions to address this issue. I think that we need to prioritize bioremediation. The standard method for getting rid of lead in soil is to dig up all the soil and take it somewhere else, right? But in that situation, we're just taking the problem and moving it somewhere else. So we definitely want to remediate solutions that include using native plants to remove the lead from the soil, right? Also prioritizing hiring people from Santana at union wages to be able to take on that task of remediating soil. We want to continue to fight for tenant protection to make sure that people who are renting on properties that are contaminated with lead can't be evicted or have the rent stacked up on them after the lead is remediated, because then they won't be able to stay and benefit from a remediated property, right? And so we want to make sure that they can live in a place that's healthy and won't be priced out once it becomes healthy. And just in addition, we think that we want to make sure that undocumented residents in particular have access to health care if they're affected by soil lead contamination. Currently, most undocumented people in the area don't have access to insurance to programs like Medi-Cal, and so we think that's a way that collaboration between us, the city, and the Orange County Healthcare Agency can help to cover that gap, especially in areas impacted by soil lead contamination. So those are just a few areas that overall we want to continue, even beyond the general plan, to work together with the city and the healthcare agency to continue to address this issue and make sure that the community has a seat at the table in anything that's made that affects them.
Thank you. Ian, did I introduce my name? Yes. I did, sorry. It's the rush, I generally rush. I'm thinking that I mentioned all the names. But yeah, so going back to question number 3. So basically, we have done, in 2018, we applied for a California Air Resource Board grant, a fund that was created through AB 617, which is a bill that basically directs some resources to disadvantaged communities like ours that have been disproportionately impacted by pollution of some sort. And so we got that grant. It was a 3-year grant, and it had 2 purposes. It was an educational component and basically also a technical component. And so what we did is that we reached out to the neighborhoods around us, from Delhi to Lake, to East Side, to Main Street, and we recruited a total of about 35 residents, about 15 youth, 2 of them who are here, and about 20 adults. And we created this resident committee that was going to guide the educational component. We trained them, but we also got them into participating in community forums and the like. And so the technical aspect meant that we needed to collect some air samples, a pilot program, and we did it under, the assistant Professor Wu and others at UCI. So how do we get involved in the general plan update? Is that in 2020, the previous city administration had a sort of like an urge to approve the plan with minimal participation from residents. And so when it was presented to the planning commission, we basically had all the quality committee members and the rest of our collaborators to say, look, you haven't done the work completely. The AC 1000 that was mentioned, it was not taken into consideration in making sure that the residents were, present and actively participating on the direction and the approval of this plan. So thankfully, the plan was delayed. And so we had a little more of an opportunity to look at some of the policies that have been considered and to be influencing those policies. And currently, we are also doing that. So we are also getting ready to look at their policies, they're strong enough, so they have teeth to change what is going to be happening in the next 25 years here in the city of Santa Ana. It's going to be the trend for what's coming in Santa Ana. So that's basically what we were able to do. We were able to put a break on this rush to approve the general plan at the end of last year under the previous city administration, and then also engage with all the collaborators and making sure that the base in the city, especially those living in EJ communities, like it was mentioned, is 25 neighborhoods across 17 census tracts. That there was a serious effort to involve those communities into the update of the general plan. So basically, how we have contributed to this, the work is not done. We are seeking other funding. We wrap up the funding for SAR, but we just submitted a couple of applications for Environmental Protection Agency grants, both the U.S. and also the Cal EPA grants. And so we are continuing to seek funding, including that CAR grant that is coming up, just to make sure that the work has to continue because, we're just scratching the surface. There are communities in LA and other places that have been working on pollution for decades. And to us, we only been doing it for 3 years. And so the more they scratch the surface, the more you find. For instance, there's a site on Pomona Street that is on that map that was a former metal plating company that is being cleaned by the Department of Toxic Substance Control. And the contaminant is trichloroethylene that is a carcinogen that is also, promotes or affects pregnancies. And so the soil and the water on the site have been contaminated. And sadly, that site is being rented out for a church to use. And I've seen kids and families being pushed into the church with strollers. And to me, it's like, this is just not acceptable. And so I think the city of Santa Ana, I know I saw you sign it up, this is my last comment. The city of Santa Ana will consider creating their own public health department. Because the issue with Santa Ana is that Santa Ana, when the Orange County Healthcare Agency, this is just my personal opinion, when they produce the stats for the county and throw Santa Ana in there, it's not reflective of what is going on with the city of Santa Ana. Because we are put together with San Clemente, Newport Beach. Oh, here's the Orange County Kids Report. I don't think that they highlight what is going on in the city of Santa Ana because here's I don't know, I'm trying to tail school district information. And so we need to have our own, this is just something that I'm hoping that somebody here in the city will continue working on this, is we need to have our own healthcare department. Just like Long Beach and Casa Vida, and unfortunately COVID brought this to the top of how important this is. Because Santa Ana got the bad blood of the death and infections of COVID because our Orange County Health Department didn't act on time. Okay, so I just, sorry, a little bit of politics here for you.
Thanks, Jose.
So we just want to make sure that each of us connects with each of the groups here. It's so important. They're just scratching the surface on their commitment and just the partnership and the groundbreaking work that we're all doing. Last question, keep it brief, please. How can people learn more about you, get in contact with you? We'll start with there.
We do have a website, npnxv.org, and it's being revamped, and we're in the process of doing that. But also, I have a sign-up sheet over there with a big map that you can just give us your information, and we'll include you, because this is just the beginning, guys. We would be working on it, hopefully for me, at least 1 more decade, and can pass it on to some of these youth in the community. Thank you.
So we definitely encourage you all to stay in contact with us. You can see our website at OCEJ.org, OCEJ.org. And you can also find more information about our soil lead study on that website, as well as all the other work that we do. You can also connect with our lead organizer, Kayla Villegas, and myself over here near our table. So if you're interested in attending our meetings and getting involved and trying to advocate to address these problems, right? And I also really encourage you all, if you're interested in this issue with the soil lead pollution in Santa Ana, to check out an audio documentary made by Juan Manuel Rubio called Air, Metal, and Earth. You can find it on Apple Music, Spotify, and if you search in Air, Metal, and Earth UCI, you can find it online as well. That includes interviews with Santa Ana residents who've been impacted by this issue, as well as a lot of historical information. So I really encourage you all to check that out. All you have to do is listen. Thank you.
Yes, I encourage you to come by my booth, and I can take down your information. Also can put you in touch with myself or the project manager of the South Basin Groundwater Protection Project. There's also a website that is called GeoTracker, which has information on contaminated sites. It's got an interactive map. You can browse around and pull up each of the sites. Here it's geotracker.gov, and our website for the Orange County Water District is www.ocwd.com. I highly encourage you to go to our website, browse around. There's a ton of information, a ton of videos, information about what we do, information about the South Basin groundwater contaminant plume. And there's also, through that website, you can schedule tours, which are at the moment virtual only, but they're typically in-person tours where they're no cost, and you come to the Orange County Water District and see how the wastewater is treated and returned to high-quality, purified drinking water. So those are free, and you can schedule them for a class, you can schedule them personally, and they're really, really informative and a lot of fun too. So I encourage you to go to the website, check it out, and sign up for one of those tours.
Thank you again to our panelists for joining us, and we're going to wrap up with our colleague, Melanie Moore.
And you all can stay or we'll go back to your seat, whatever. Thank you so much. I just like those high top seats.
That is perfect for me.
It didn't work for me.
Thank you again. Then let me go to the next. So I just wanted to also GeoTracker is on the City of Santa Ana's website. As I mentioned earlier, we're trying to work with all of our partners so that their information can be all accessible on our EJ portal. So we'll work together to make that happen so it's convenient for everyone. So moving forward, we have an environmental impact report that's been recirculated for our general plan. And comments on that we are taking through September 20th. And third bullet point down, September 13th, we're actually having a public hearing to take comments on the environmental. And it's been recirculated with another topic being included as a significant impact of that is recreation. So if you want to be part of that public hearing, that's 5:30 on September 13th. And then moving forward from there, we're looking at taking the general plan and policy, the environmental justice policy, to the planning commission for them to make a recommendation on October 25th. And then we're looking at taking that to council at the end of the year in November. So again, I would offer that if you have any questions on the general plan or any suggestions, feel free to take myself, Ricardo, or Jerry with any questions, or you can take our business card. And we really appreciate you caring enough about Santa Ana to take the time to be here today. So thank you very much, and have a good rest of the weekend. Oh, one last thing, I noticed you were reading anywhere, and you tell me thinking, well, what about the raffle? Thanks, Alyssa. So if everyone could, pick up the number. Alvaro, would you like me to love here?
Sure. I mean, not,
There you go. All right, we've got two.
right, now let's not go. Very good. All right, one. Here we go. Yes. Cynthia Guerra. Cynthia Guerra, number 76121.
Come on down. If you can read out the number.
I mean, you do.
They have a $50 card. And our second winner is?
Mike Guerra.
No, that's, and it's
Really? There you go.
What you get?
2 years from me to read number 761205. That's three numbers, 205. Nope.
What?
Going in. Number 205. 205. That's it. One more. All right.
Here we go. Our lucky winner is?
Number 182. 182. That's 761-182.
Maybe?
182.
Yep.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
No.